Quiet. Morning. So let's just set this running. Check the clicker. You never work. Brill. I'll just talk a little bit about who we are, why it's relevant to us, and then we'll have a little chat about why neurodivergent minds make great engineers and makers. So I'm Paul Bullock, Managing Director of 3D360 Skills Training. You can see here a lot of my background is through nuclear engineering. High complexity, high hazard, complex problems. I'm a digital specialist for the Nuclear Institute, sitting in the Construction Industry Council, registered engineer with the Institution of Engineering and Technology. Sorry, thank you. So who are 3D360, multi-award winning training provider and socially responsible enterprise focused on public sector training. So we're a training company. We have 14 permanent staff, 22 strong, and for every pound we've ever earned, we've given more than £1 back to our communities, which we're very proud of. We've got 2 venues just down the road in Greater Manchester, in Leigh, and one in Whitehaven in Cumbria. So how did we come to being? During COVID, I'd spent 30 plus years in the nuclear industry doing advanced manufacturing, designing robotics, pushing the boundaries of what we could achieve. And I left to go into technical education a week before COVID. So there you go. And there was no turning back then. So you can see here on the left, our co-director Lee was in engineering, I was in engineering. We both sit on the committee of the Motor Neurone Disease Association. And like probably a lot of people in this room, we decided to 3D print visors. So all of a sudden I had access to a school, I had access to a fab lab, I had access to everyone's printers in the region, and we set up a print farm and started producing the visors, Lee and I. That's how we got together. Later on we redesigned the ventilator valve, the Charlotte valve, as some of you will see. Fundamentally the design was wrong on that. The supports and little tucked away areas were in the inlet, and they needed to be in the outlet. Really, you know, major pandemic, we don't want people breathing in sort of streams and things like that. During that, because of my background certifying stuff for the nuclear industry, I wouldn't have got away with it had there been a problem. So me and a small group of people from 3D Crowd took to CE marking the visors in October 2020. We got the certification for that for people to print at home. So I'm really proud of that. We realised then that people needed support, people needed training. So I put a proposal forward to educate educators, and the rest is history. 4.5 years on, we're applying for the government. So we're applying for the government. We have contracts around education and training in additive, in CAD, and many other things. So quite a journey, but what really drives us is social impact to supporting things like this. Little example of a few of the things we've done there. I won't read everything out, but are we sharing these slides afterwards? Okay, I'll talk about this. I'll quite happily share the slides if anyone wants them. So supporting causes like this. We did a talk in December on 3D printing, and that got 62,500 live views. Really worth watching if you've got contacts to schools, education, a lot of fun. But it's that digital approach, changing the way we do it. I could go in and speak to a class of kids, 30 minutes, it's gone, it's finite. This is available on demand, and will run forever in principle. So just doing a bit of our social value. So this is our STEM truck. It's now the steam truck if Andy Alshon's in the room. Unfortunately, I can't change the reg plate on it, so I've changed the signage, but I can't change the plate. We do training, as I say, through government funding. We deliver advanced manufacturing for the Department for Education across all the regions of the Northwest. We all know what that is in this room. We also deliver nuclear training and electric vehicles training. So that's the dull stuff done. So what are some of the personal characteristics associated with neurodiversity and neurodiverse individuals? That's what we're all here for. So it'd be in the modern day, I took to GPT to get an answer for this. I'm sure we'll all agree with that. Is there anything anyone wants to add? I did try and do a Menti, but the tech wouldn't work earlier, so apologies. I did want a bit of audience participation, so I'm not just talking at you all. These are all really key traits, really powerful superpowers, I guess we can call them, of neurodiverse individuals: creative thinking, innovative, analytical, attention to detail. And that's one of the reasons I talk about what I do, why my background, because they're all the traits we need. All the traits of neurodiverse individuals are what we need to deal with our most complex problems, our highest risk, and our sort of deepest requirements, really. So I just want to talk about a few of these problem-solving skills. I want to big us all up in the room. There's probably a good degree of people neurodivergent or support neurodivergent causes. I want to put a bit of the why behind that. So problem-solving skills, logical thinking, attention to detail, innovative, analytical skills, team player. Does that ring any bells for anyone? Are we all in agreement with that? I'm sure we are. I won't dwell on these, but practical thinking, organised, curious, ethical, adaptable, detail-orientated. That's really key. An effective communicator. So, do we all agree there? Traits of neurodiverse individuals? Are we buying that? So, the last two slides were actually the traits of an engineer. And you can see the crossover, how intertwined they are. Neurodiverse individuals make great engineers. When I was chatting with my colleagues in the nuclear skills and capabilities, we're talking about it, and it's 1 in 5, the current statistic of neurodiverse individuals. We estimate in the nuclear industry, it's 1 in 5 people aren't neurodiverse, neurodivergent. There's a real route there to using our skills, to using our superpowers, for our benefit, I guess. We get good career, good roles. So what's the biggest problem we have today in engineering? I sit on a lot of skills and capabilities groups. It's the same problems: staff shortages, skills, capabilities. Now, around 25% of all jobs in the UK, of all job postings, are engineering. The average age, like me, is 54. In engineering, we have a problem: 91,000 engineers. The current workforce will be retiring in the next few years. The UK is struggling to retain engineers. We estimate we need 1 million engineers by 2030. So, what sectors do we work with? Where do I see this? This is actual, it's not anecdotal. I see it in aerospace, automotive. I see it in energy, space, robotics, additive, and many more. These are all the things we're into. We're all here today, and for the same reasons, I think, that really open up these opportunities. So, how do we solve that problem? How do we solve the shortage of engineers? Where could we possibly find 20% of people that have all the characteristics and skills that we're looking for? How can employers help? There is another side to this. We need to nurture and support. We need to be able to provide a route for neurodiverse individuals, provide a safe, inclusive space, provide an inspiring environment. We need to accept that this is a real solution. This is something we can proactively attract and look for to solve our problems for UK ELC. And we need to do training. Skills is about training, and that's where we come in and where I come in, I guess, specifically. So, why does it matter? Ultimately, well, it brings diversity, it brings different thinking, different ways of thinking, different paradigms. It improves adaptability and resilience. It gives us another option, another tool in our toolkit, and it enhances inclusive engineering cultures. So I just want to finish with one specific line. Like everyone else, I guess, I took to the internet when I was researching this presentation. I found a brilliant quote at the bottom there. Neurodivergent thinkers often bring extraordinary strengths, including creativity, innovation, and risk-taking, all vital to engineering and design. So do we know who said that? Anyone?
Mas sim. Vamos.
No. honestly, killed it on the punchline.
Yes.
It was Sanjay Mortimer. You'll see that on their website. That's exactly what they do. Support these pathways and support neurodiverse individuals into careers in engineering and making. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
Young lady.
This ageism. My friend's like 50, she couldn't get another job because she couldn't read the small print on the fuses. A friend of ours has been, it's been British and get out the project so they can send it to India where they're paying the less.
Yeah, it's a problem, and I think I touched on it a little bit earlier. It's about changing the hearts and minds of hiring managers, of the HR teams. It's about awareness. I do see that, to be fair, in sectors, certainly, perhaps in engineering and in high complexity, high hazard roles. And I think ageism, sexism, we have a really low percentage of females in engineering. It's 16% in manufacturing, 24% in engineering. There's no reason that should be low. But we harbour historical stereotypes, historical prejudice. I think what we can do about that is talk to our friends, colleagues, family, anyone who listen about hiring managers, to ask them to look at it, to ask them to look at doing it differently. And I lobby for that. It's something I do in the background for a lot of the different skills and capabilities, is try and change that perception, that problem. And I think it's legacy. I think there's been a lot of prejudice in old-fashioned heavy industry previously. And it feels like it's changing, if I'm honest. So it comes to the same problem, really. If hiring managers aren't open to new routes, open to new different types of people, different styles, building the team resilience that brings, then that's a problem, But I do see change. I see change happening. I see the dial moving. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Does that answer that question, by the way? Best I can. Brill. Anyone else? Any other questions, comments? Does anyone else want to add anything to the floor? It's a team game. Young man.
I just like to add to what I think it's not just the hiring managers, it's the interview process itself. And sometimes, particularly the neurodivergent people that we have about 800 to 1,000 people graduate program.
Yes.
And because it's on rest, though, everything's run by HR. And so we have people that are extremely on the technical side. And then a critical part of it is group interview where they actually group tasks and work. And, I see a lot of very promising people who just really not do well with that. And it's such a shame. I do, I assume myself that probably they both get great jobs up there. They all that, but it's, processes better place can what policy.
And it's a really good point. I think, and again, we talk about the hiring process, learning and development teams, HR. It's just fundamentally wrong. Statistically, we know people are going to struggle. Some people are going to struggle with that type of interview process, and I think we have to change it. My teams, back when I was at Sellafield, a lot of really clever people, a lot of people who just wanted to be sat in a darkened room doing big sums and letters of themselves, No one I'm going to put up there for a presentation. No one I'm going to put up there for a team discussion on whatever. So I think we need to look at it differently. That's the key. And I think you made a really good point. And I'd sort of ask of you to go back to your employer, to go back and challenge that. Use that experience and lobby for change, I guess. We do see it, but we can all understand how that's fundamentally wrong and not going to work. I think that's the key. Or we just keep on recruiting the same people from the same subgroup universities through the same pathways. I do I'm involved quite heavily in nuclear skills, and I do know we need 40,000 people in nuclear by 2030. You saw the stat before, 91,000 engineers by 2030. If we don't change how we do it, we're not going to get it. We're not. This isn't going to happen. So I think my call to action and ask of you is to lobby for change, speak up, ask people, tell people. But yeah, it's bad in the modern day, I think, when you see that. I think we have to do things very much differently. Thank you for that. Good question. Anyone else? My time's nearly up. So thank you for listening. And hopefully I'll see you same time next year.